You're in the supermarket. Your child drops to the floor, screaming, and every eye in the aisle turns to you. In that single moment, one question quietly decides everything you do next. And it's the question most of us were never taught to ask. Is this a tantrum, or is this a meltdown? From the outside, they can look identical. Same screaming, same tears, same floor. But underneath, they are two completely different things. And the response that calms one will pour fuel on the other. Once you can tell them apart, those impossible moments start to make sense. In the next few minutes, you'll learn to tell them apart in real time. 4 clear signs, and exactly how to respond to each, because the right response is almost the opposite, depending on which one you're facing. No judgment here. This confuses teachers, grandparents, even professionals. By the end, you'll understand what's actually happening inside your child, and what they genuinely need from you when everything feels loud. Let's start with the tantrum, because it's the one most people think they understand. A tantrum is a strategy, not a manipulative, evil genius strategy. Just a young child with a big want and not enough words, trying to change an outcome. They want the sweet, the toy, 5 more minutes at the park. The tantrum is simply the tool they reach for. And because it's goal-driven, a tantrum leaves fingerprints. The child still has a measure of control. They often check, a quick glance to see if you're watching, if it's working. And here's the real tell. When the goal disappears, or the audience does, the tantrum usually winds down. It has a purpose. When the purpose is gone, so is the storm. A meltdown is not a strategy. It's an overflow. Picture a cup filling drop by drop. Too much noise, bright lights, an itchy clothing tag, a sudden change of plan, one instruction too many. The cup fills, and then it spills. That spill is a meltdown, a nervous system that has hit its limit and lost the ability to cope. It is not chosen. It is not aimed at you. This is why meltdowns are so common in autistic and ADHD children, whose systems often take in more of the world at once. But any child, on the wrong day, can reach that point. During a meltdown, the child has little or no control, and giving them the thing that seemed to start it often changes nothing, because the want was never really the point. The overwhelm was. And it can be set off by something that looks tiny from the outside. The wrong color cup, a seam in a sock, a plan that changed at the last second. To you, it's small. To an overloaded system, it was simply the final drop. So in the heat of the moment, how do you actually know which one you're facing? 4 quick questions. 1. Is there an audience? A tantrum usually wants one. A meltdown doesn't care if the room is completely empty. 2. Is there a goal? With a tantrum, you can usually name what they want. With a meltdown, often nobody can, not even the child. 3. Is there control? A tantrum can pause if something more interesting appears. A meltdown can't simply be switched off. 4. What ends it? A tantrum ends when the goal is met or clearly won't be. A meltdown ends only when the body finally settles. No shortcut, no deal you can offer. Here's where everything flips. For a tantrum, your job is calm, almost boring, consistency. Stay steady. Name the feeling out loud. You're angry we're leaving the park, that's okay. Then hold the boundary you already set. Because if no turns into fine, here, the second the screaming peaks, the child learns exactly which volume gets results. And you'll be hearing that volume again tomorrow. This isn't coldness. You can be warm and completely unmovable at the same time. Acknowledge the feeling. Keep the limit. Both together. Now the opposite. In a meltdown, boundaries and lessons land on nobody home. In simple terms, the thinking part of the brain goes offline, flooded by stress. This is not the moment to teach, reason, or negotiate. so shrink the world instead. Lower your voice or say nothing at all. Reduce the input, dim the lights, step out of the loud room, gently clear the crowd if you can. Keep them safe and keep yourself calm, because your calm is contagious and so is your panic. Fewer words, more presence. You're not trying to force the meltdown to stop. You're being the steady wall they can lean against until the wave finally passes. In practice, that can look like almost nothing from the outside. You, sitting nearby, quiet and unhurried, maybe offering a hand but not demanding they take it. Boring to watch and quietly powerful. The single most common mistake? Treating a meltdown like a tantrum. When we read overwhelm as acting out, we do the natural thing. Raise our voice, add a consequence, demand they use their words. But to a flooded nervous system, every one of those is just another drop into an already overflowing cup. More words, more pressure, more meltdown. There's a line worth remembering here. The child isn't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. That one shift from won't calm down to can't calm down yet changes everything about how you show up in the moment. When it's over, and it always passes, resist the urge to launch into a lecture. A child coming out of a meltdown is exhausted and often quietly ashamed. What they need first is reconnection. A hug, a drink of water, some calm company. The teaching, if there's any to do, comes much later, gently, once everyone is regulated. Specialists call this co-regulation. A child who can't yet steady themselves borrows the steadiness of a calm adult. It isn't spoiling them, and it isn't giving in. It's the exact way the skill gets built, over hundreds of small storms, with you beside them each time. And notice what you're actually building. Every time you stay steady through the storm, you teach something no worksheet ever could. That big feelings are survivable, and that you don't disappear when things get hard. That's how a child slowly learns to calm their own storms. By borrowing yours first. One practical thing tonight. Think back to the last big blow-up and run the 4 questions. Audience, goal, control, and what ended it. Tantrum or meltdown. Naming it afterwards trains your eye for next time, when you'll have seconds to decide, not the luxury of hindsight. Do it for a few weeks, and you'll start spotting the patterns before the storm even arrives. The specific noise, the tricky transition, the time of day that keeps showing up. And if the meltdowns are frequent, intense, or lasting well beyond the toddler years, that is not a character flaw, and it is not bad parenting. It's simply worth a calm conversation with your pediatrician or a specialist who can help you find the triggers underneath. If this made the floor-screaming moments feel a little less overwhelming, subscribe. One topic every week for parents and teachers of neurodivergent kids, with no fear and no judgment. See you next week.